Welcome to the Angry Ewok channel. Today we have a game between myself, Angry Ewok, and Louis Andre. This game was played about a week ago, and we played on Vassal, and I'm bringing my Piett Onager list, which I haven't played a whole lot of. I'm trying out something new with the Onager. It's built around a testbed Onager, which has got the typical Vernilian and veteran gunners set up. It's got Cataclysm. It's got the long range ignition weapon. And I chose to go with Intel Officer because I really, really like putting pressure on people's brace token, putting pressure on people's scatter token. And I don't want to have to rely on accuracies because ECM sucks, and it's everywhere. It doesn't suck. It's ubiquitous enough that one single shot with an accuracy is not consistently going to put pressure on a brace or scatter defensive token. In support of that Onager, we have two Architon light cruisers. One is kitted up as kind of an all or nothing ship. It's Craiken with slave turrets. So out of the side, we're getting 5 dice between 3 dice base, slave turrets, concentrate fire gives you a 5th dice. Craiken lets you reroll all 5 of those dice. Very good amount of firepower for the amount of points you're putting into it. Only problem is it's on an Aquitaine, so you got to drive it pretty well. One of the reasons that Piett is my admiral is because Aquitaines really want navigate commands so that they can get a turn early on the stick, on the maneuver stick. But this Craiken Aquitaine really wants a concentrate fire dial so that he can trigger Craiken, so he can get to that 5 dice. So a lot of times I feel like this ship in particular, if it can get a token from one of the 2 Comsnet flotillas in the fleet, it can really sing. It is a little bit, it's a lot of tech to try to make an Aquitaine good, but Piett is also very useful on the Onager, so that was why Piett was chosen as the admiral. The other Aquitaine is very simple. It's a Captain Nita to get an evade, a second evade, and then a TRC. So it's pretty much just almost like an Akbar TRC CR90. It's going to roll 3 dice at you at red range, possibly 4 if you fire. It's going to use one of its evades, a TRC one of those into a double. Very reliably going to do a little damage, and hopefully those 3 ships together can put out enough long-range firepower to hurt things. In support of that, I got 2 flotillas. Those 2 flotillas have comms nets. They have reserve hangar decks, and one has Hondo Ohnaka, one has Darth Vader, the 1 point officer Vader, so that I can jettison Captain Nita if I need to, so I can jettison Craiken. I really probably won't want to do that. If I could jettison the intel officer for that once in a lifetime, gotta have it shot. Air cover is a bunch of generics. It's 4 TIE interceptors and 2 TIE fighters. I would have run 6 squints, 6 interceptors if I had points for them, but I just don't. You'll notice in the pictures here that I don't have nearly enough interceptors pulled out. I only have 1 Aquitaine, and the other one's got a Raider sitting there. That's because one of my buddies, he's borrowing some of my stuff. Louis is running a rebel fleet built around Admiral Craiken, and he's got an assault frigate Mark II. On that assault frigate, he's got boosted comms, he's got Bail Organa, and he's got link turbo laser towers, ECM, a couple other things I don't remember exactly. He's also got 2 turbo laser CR90s. One is Jaina's Light, and the other one I don't think had anything else on it. He has 2 flotillas. One has Tormfar, one has Bomber Command Center. So that's all the dice fixing, rerolling things you could possibly want for your bombers and for your X-wings shooting squad to squad. So very lean list, not a lot of extraneous upgrades. He's got 8 squads. He's got Janors and 4 generic X-wings, and then he's got 3 Skurg. And let's talk about that for a second. So the 4 X-wings are 5-hull, really tough, supported by Janors. That's a lot of escort. That's a lot of hull to chew through. They shoot back really hard. So I'm looking at this and thinking, man, my poor little interceptors are not going to be able to chew through that and hurt anything really, because the amount of shots that I would have to put into it to really get through those X-wings is just going to be a lot before I can get to the Skurgs. And the Skurgs are what I really want to get into, because between Tor and Far rerolling blue dice and Bomber Command Center rerolling one of their dice, those are speed 3 blue-black bombers that I don't want hitting me. And I mean, it's simple, it's brutal, it's effective. The list from the jump screams, I'm going to try to last first you with a Bail Organa bombing attack. Can you stop it? And you know, the way you stop it is you either time out the Bail turn, or you kill those Scourgs and make him at least have to hit you with, you know, X-Wings instead of effectively, you know, 3 sets of blue-black followed by 3 sets of blue-black in the beginning of the next turn. Because that right there will blow holes in most things. So that's his list, and we'll go on to deployment. At deployment, I know going in that I have 1 fewer drop than Louis. He's got 4 squad drops and 5 ship drops. I've got 5 ship drops and 3 squad drops. So he's got 1 more deployment on me, and I have the bid. I have like a 4-point bid. He was right. He's like 399. I was like 396 or something like that. Typically, I am much more comfortable as a second player than a first player, but I want to try to get the Onager to work. I think I need to go first to make sure I can line up some good shots, and so I picked first player. Just didn't feel real comfortable with it, because that's not my play style, that's not my comfort level, but that's also part of this, like trying to get outside of my comfort level, trying to try new things. So I chose first, and of his missions, I chose to go with Infested Fields. Now, I did myself a disservice, because I can make all kind of excuses for, like, kids running around and dinner. But I did not read the card very well, and I have not played Infested Fields that much. And it's actually a much more interesting mission than I give it credit for. Props to Louis for taking it, and I will definitely use it and play it better in the future. But I failed to do my research and to understand the mission very well. But anyway, so we chose Infested Fields, and so I'm first player, so we start dropping, and this is how we ended up being deployed. Now, you'll see the tokens. The tokens are placed on the asteroids, and then he placed the exogryphs, I think that's how you say them, on the 2 asteroids closest to me. He, in a gentlemanly way, reminded me that squadrons can pick up the tokens, because I thought I was going to have to drive over the rocks. He pointed that out to me. That was nice of him. And then so I proceeded to do the jerk thing and set up a TIE Interceptor to go try to snatch away one of his tokens from him before he gets to go. Because I have first player, I have a TIE Interceptor, it can jump out there and grab it. So that was my initial plan, was to try to get 3 of the 5 tokens and then make him come to me, because that's a big thing. Like, is if he has three of these tokens, he can just run to the corner and not fight me really, and he can get a 6-5. He's probably not going to do that. He's going to turn and fight, but it immediately from the beginning of the game puts me at a disadvantage. Don't like that. So we're going to try to stop that. So let's look at what his fleet can do to me. First, we see this big red circle in the middle, and that's basically where I expect his bombers to go. They're speed 3, not super fast, not going to jump across the table and smash me, but they're going to own the middle of that board. And between boosted comms off the assault frigate, flotillas skirting the fight, but kind of going to the left for the most part, they're going to be able to get commands, they're going to be able to act in the middle, and so that's where I suspect he's going to focus himself. And because of the way he's deployed his assault frigate and his Admiral CR-90, it tends to show that he's going to the left. We all kind of see that and get that. He can't run into the board edge, but so far, before he's going to have to eventually turn up into the fight. The only real wild card is where this trailing CR-90 is going to go. It's a perfect position to be either a finishing shot, arcing over to the left and following the rest of the fleet, or trying to slow roll and get behind my Onager and snake back inside. I think that we'll come back to talk about this little CR90 in the wrap up because I think I could have definitely tried to deal with him a little better. But that's what I suspect Louis is getting ready to do to me. And so my response is to try to turn his fleet back towards the Onager because the Onager's over on one side away from my fleet, and there are reasons for that. We'll get to that later. But in order for it to participate, in order for my Aquitans to get to shoot their best arc, which is their side arc, in a lot of cases against the Craiken fleet, their only arc, because the front is one red dice and it's obstructed so you don't shoot anything, I have got to get my broadsides facing into this fleet. So if they're coming to the left, I need to make a wall and turn everything back in the other way. So that's my game plan. And then to try to catch him with the Onager. I want the Onager to come flat and create pressure from both sides in this general area that you'll see with the yellow circle. It's where I'm trying to get to. Because other than that, like if he could ever beat my Aquitans and get past them into their front arcs or past them and run away from the Onager, I just don't have the firepower to bring them down in a quick enough time frame. And it's going to be a damage race because those bombers are going to be there chipping away at me. So right now at deployment, I expect my ships to probably do something like this. You see the blue flight path that's the Craiken slave turrets. Aquitaine, it was placed there because I felt like it would need less navigation commands to be on target versus the NITA TRC being kind of centrally deployed so that I could, try to disguise my deployment a little bit. But I expect it to need more navigate commands to get turned following that green trajectory and then join the wall. And I want both of them almost in a, traditional Congo line coming down the board, shooting to the left, to their left. And then the Onager is going to need to try to get in the fight as quickly as possible. And it's actually pretty good at trailing because unlike most ships that trail, it can shoot beyond red range, so it can still hit things even if it goes first, hit something, and then it moves away from it. So that was my hope, was to use the Onager as a trailing ship, and I hope that works out for me. Most of you are probably watching this and thinking, he's such an idiot. Why is his Onager not over there with the rest of his fleet? His Onager is way off in the distance and not really going to be relative to the fight. And I asked myself that same question. Two things you need to consider here, though, is that Louis has more drops than me. So his assault frigate never got placed until after my Onager went down. And so, if I had placed it roughly where the red square is, I would probably have ended up doing something like this. The blue lines showing the Aquitain's potential paths. You know that assault frigate's going to go somewhere in that general area. These are just my best guesses. That green lines are my best guesses of its trajectory. And the fight's going to happen somewhere in that yellow zone. Now, that's in a perfect world if he deploys exactly like he did after seeing my Onager go down. But I don't have that luxury. Louis, seeing my Onager go down on this side, is much, much more likely to not fly directly into a frontal assault, into an Onager, when he doesn't have to. Because he has squadrons and he has very maneuverable CR90s, it's much more likely that he would go somewhere like this. Like he would put his assault frigate parallel to the board and just slow roll and fire off of his left side and back, and just keep showing me his afterburners and dumping squads into me, because there's nothing worse than them sending squads backwards into your ships and you just snow plowing through bombers and just getting ground up. I suspect that this would have happened. So my choice, and we'll get to this in the after action, we may come back to this, but I chose to go on the other side so that I could try to pincer between two forces, because I was very concerned about this going left to right and running away from the Onager and all my other stuff, because Aquitans that are chasing stuff are not very good, especially against Craiken. They get no shots. If they can keep you in that front arc, you're never going to hurt them. So I had to make sure that the fight was going to happen in the side arcs of the Aquitans, not in the front arcs of the Aquitans. So I chose to put my Onager on the far side of the table to try to make sure they got to participate. Because no matter how good a shot you get with that Onager, you're not going to do enough damage with one ship to win and win quickly. So might have been a bad play. Wanted to explain that because my deployment breaks most of the rules of keep your stuff together, keep them all on the same target, and we'll see how it turns out. So with it being 5 activations on 5 activations, first thing you need to ask yourself is what has to happen first, and what ship do I want to go last with? And the answer to that is I wanted to go with that flotilla quickly. I went with the flotilla first, sent my little interceptor over there to steal his objective token out from under his fleet. So now I've got 15 points in the bag. Probably going to get my 2 on my side, so I'll probably be up 15 points on the mission. And I don't really care if that interceptor dies, because if it dies, I'll just use reserve hangar decks to bring it back, so I'm not necessarily sacrificing an interceptor to do that. So that was my first play, delayed activations with the 2 flotillas, and then we want to look at the right side of the board. We want to look at this CR90 versus Onager situation. The Onager has a red range shot, has an extreme range shot with just my red dice. It's originally 4, Craiken takes it to 3. He's really not in danger here. I might do 1. If I got 3 hits or some other combination thereof, I might get 1 damage to stick. So not a high likelihood there. Louis recognizes that, doesn't go early or panic or do anything like that. In fact, it's in his best interest to hold that sucker off till the last activation, because if he moves it early, I can pounce on it with my Onager. I think we both knew that. Because if it goes early to try to let the assault frigate go last or something like that, the Onager is going to eat it up, and then all of a sudden I'm up 5 activations to 4 with first player, and the game starts looking a lot different. But he did a good job. He saw it. He also was able to get a maneuver in there that missed my front arc for the next turn. So well played on his part. In this slide, you'll notice the positioning of my Onager in this little orange line. And what I'm trying to show here is that my intent was not to come flying in as hard as I could against this rebel fleet, because what I really want to do is come up a little bit short and try to tempt these bombers to come to the right, as I'm showing here. Because if they come to the right, they're going away from their squadron pushing fleet element. And so hopefully, if I can pull them away, they'll get 1 round of bombing and then be stranded away from bomber command center, away from Torrenfar, away from squadron commands. And with me having first player, I could then step on the gas and fly by them and get around them. That, again, probably works on a rookie, but it's the best I have here, because if I come flying in there at full speed, I'm just going to make his job easier to hit me without moving and then back up so he can hit me easier next turn. So I want to try to stretch his bomber wing and make them not try to pull them out of position. But he does not do that. I just want to mention that before we go on to turn 2, because that's what I was thinking here and why I was trying to get where I was. So here we are at the start of turn 2, trying to figure out where this assault frigate's going to go. I think he's probably either going to try to split my Aquitans or try to come inside, kind of coming in towards the Nita Aquitaine, and try to sit down in the front arc of the Nita Aquitaine and try to make it so that the Craiken Aquitaine may not get a shot, or may only get 1 shot before it can turn back around and get into the fight. Also, like we suspected, the enemy bomber fleet is balling up towards the middle. What I'm trying to do is trying to get my flotillas and their flak arcs to overlap, and then he's also got these executions moving around. So right now, my squadrons are sitting under a bunch of different flak protection bubbles, and the rebel bombers are sitting pretty much right outside of that, as you'll see with these threat bubbles that I've kind of colored in here. The only problem, and then I will pretty quickly send my 2 TIE fighters to go grab the last 2 objectives. So I've achieved the objectives that I can possibly get to. I really don't think I could go get the other ones. It's just too far. But now the only problem with that is my flotillas can't sit there. They have to go, and I'm trying to make sure that my Aquitans don't get out positioned. So I go early with my flotillas, and I send them out there into a bad spot, and they get bombed. And I end up losing the flotilla that's more central, and the one that's closer to the left side of the board gets damaged. I think it loses its scatter from a combination of Skirg and X-Wing bombing attacks. And that's on me. I probably should have held them up. I should have been running slower. But I was very concerned that if my Onager had to go parallel to the board and try to get in behind them, that I would run into my flotillas and be out of the fight. So I was like, crap, I got to get these flotillas forward so my Onager can fly in behind them. So I think I crossed myself up here. These flotillas probably should have been running speed 2 or 1, and just, I don't know. I think that was a mistake on my part, but that was my thinking here. And then we have the assault frigate. It makes a nice hard inside cut with a nav command, and so now it's coming back towards the inside of the table. And now we run into this potential for my Krennic Aquitaine to not get to be part of the fight. And that's a big red flag. I can't have ships not shooting. Right now, I've got, my Nita Aquitaine is front arcing this assault frigate that it can't hurt because Craiken reasons. And the Krennic Aquitaine's not really going to be getting a lot of shots. So that's a big problem, and we're going to try to fix that with some positioning. Fortunately, I had a navigate command on the Krennic Aquitaine, and we come here, as you can see, to get back into somewhat of a firing position. And I don't really care that the flotilla is there because every shot I'm taking is obstructed anyway. Interesting point here, this CR90 is pixels out of red range of my Aquitaine. It's all over the shield dial, all over the plastic, no cardboard to cardboard. It was we both kind of laughed. It was a pretty lucky move, really. I mean, I just did the tightest turn I could do to try to keep my guns on the assault frigate and keep myself relevant to the battle. But it was a happy accident for me. And then, the Onager has to go. And when the Onager goes, again, not knowing the mission, apparently these daggum rocks move, and these space slugs move too. And if you hit both of them, you take both of them. I don't think I hit it. But he says I hit the back of it with my ship. I didn't feel like zooming and arguing. I'm sure he was right. But anyways, seeing how fast the assault frigate is coming inside, I feel like I need to try to head it off. And so I do the tightest turn I can, and I hit the shield. I hit the debris shield. Lose some shields to the debris. Also lose a shield to the dang space worm, apparently. And position myself here and put that token in a really good spot to shoot the assault frigate. Probably going to get a really nice shot here, but I am really, really close to these rebel bombers. And the CR90 hasn't really gone yet. So he's going to get to shoot and zip around to a good position. So that's not going to be great either. Not a lot of real tactics going on here, just trying to make the best out of the move that Louis made and trying to come up with an escape plan. My Onager, if I kill the assault frigate, it's probably less expensive than the Onager. So I need to either preserve this thing or kill something else. And so I got to come up with some kind of way to get out of this trap. And so I think my best play is to go either up back towards my own board edge or kind of curve down and try to punch through the enemy formation. But I cannot stay where I'm at. And I really, really, really need my TIE fighters to hold up long enough to get me out of this hole. At this point, I'm really hurting from getting hit by the asteroids, and I think I'm out of position. And something I'd like to, we'll talk more about in the wrap-up, is that I would have been a lot better off if this Onager were closer to my board edge, kind of roughly where the green box is. And my Craiken Aquatin would have been a lot better placed if it had been more closer to the center and just trusted my ability to turn myself at the end of the stick a lot more, and I've been closer. I would have been able to crowd in on that assault frigate, and he would have had a much harder time of basically not mitigating, but making that Aquatin spend a bunch of time and effort and movement to try to keep its guns on the assault frigate. This probably would have been a better plan. We'll get back to that, but this is a good time to bring that up. Just so remember this for the wrap-up. At the start of turn 3, we have to remember that the Bail turn is coming next turn. So, Bail Organa has been called to activate on turn 4, so I need to try to gum up this assault frigate and keep it from having an easy escape path. And so I think that this red line is my best guess of where he's going to try to go. So I want to try to get in the way of that. And probably the best way to do that is with the move from the Nita Aquatin that's close to being in front of the assault frigate. If I can get him in front of it, we might have a chance of jamming him up. Big concern here is that the Exegurs moved the obstacles that they were attached to, and then they plop themselves back down in such a way that they're going to be able to flak most of my TIE fighters. And they would flak the rebel squadrons too, but the TIE fighters are probably not going to get activated because I have lost a flotilla, probably going to lose another flotilla pretty soon in the round. So my squadrons are probably not going to get activated and sit there and take the Exegurs shots, while he's probably going to get to use his flotillas to move some ships, use his assault frigate to move some squads, and not take too much damage from that. So I'm probably getting ready to lose my whole squadron wing because I bunched up and I didn't push them at a good target. I should have committed them faster. But anyways, so we want to try to gum up the assault frigate. I go early with the Aquatin and I slide forward at speed 1, and I try to stay as nose on to him as possible because I don't want to turn myself. If I'd turned and gotten myself kind of parallel to the long edge of the board, I would have given him more space to land behind me. So I tried to be as annoying as possible and be as close to vertical as I could. He goes. He has a double arc on my flotilla. He shoots it twice, kills it, bombs. I forget what he bombs, but I think he's starting to rack up damage on my Onager at this point. And so we look, and the sad part is he moved in such a way as to basically get just outside of range of my Craiken Aquatin. Because that was going to be my next activation, because I knew that the Craiken Aquatin was in danger of becoming irrelevant, getting moved past. I really thought I could have froze him with the Nita Aquatin and then thus keep a shot for the Craiken Aquatin, because I really feel like if I get Nita to hit him and Craiken to hit him and the Onager to hit him, this thing's going to be hurting bad. But he skates out of red range by a couple mils. So that's really unfortunate. So now we're in no rush to try to move that Aquatin, because then it's just going to give his CR90 an easier chance of escaping it and or lining up a shot on it. So we go with the Onager, and we do a really good shot. We end up, after we do Vernilion, after we intel the brace right off the top, veteran gunner reroll, we end up putting 10 damage on him. With 10 damage, he's gonna, he does brace. He was at, I forget the circumstance exactly. Well, I think he was within normal long range, so he could only cancel 1 dice. The end result was he ended up bracing from, I think he evaded a double to get to 8. He threw his brace away to make it 4. But Now I have an assault frigate with no brace token. So that's pretty solid. We like that a lot. Now I still got to try to get around this stupid rock and the exogirth, and I did a lot of playing and moving. The best I could come up with was this move that you're seeing here. I still take the rock, but I do obstruct my left side against those bombers. That's something. I would rather not hit the rock, obviously. And like we said earlier, I'd have been way, way better off if I was much closer to my long board edge than I was. But that was the best I could do at the time. I'll be honest, I was a little bit over it at this point. I'm like, there's no way this Onager's coming out of here alive because I'm about to get bombered. But that was the play we made. We sat down here and we felt like, okay, well, even if this assault frigate clears, I'll put my token, I'll put my targeting beacon down, and even my front arc is good enough that my front and side will probably kill it. If he shoots me, I'll salvo him. There'll be some damage there, and it'll probably go down. And even if it doesn't go down this turn, because it's going first in turn 4, I'll get to like double tap it on turn 4 and 5. So I'm not too concerned about the assault frigate getting away. I'm just concerned whether or not the Onager will live. So this is the end. This is the position at the end of that turn, going into 4, going into the Bail turn. All right, so here we go. Turn 4. Bail Organa triggers. So I think if I had to guess, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking Louis was going to do this red move to the left. And the reason I thought that was if he's going to fit, what's probably going to happen here. Oh, and by the way, the exogirths all fired. My TIE fighters died horribly, like we suspected last turn. So what I suspect here is that Louis is probably going to try to fly to the left, get his assault frigate into the back arc of my Aquitaine, so I can't really hurt it very much, and try to kill the Onager. And the Onager is got 7 hit points at the start of this round or something, with not a lot of shields left, so I don't have high hopes of it living. And sure enough, the squad command comes out. Sure enough, I eat 3 Skurgs in the face. You'll see the diagram of what he did. He bombed 3 times to the nose with the Skurgs, and he got at least 2 damage every time he shot. So that's 2, 2, 2. I braced again, discarded my brace, salvoed one of the Skurg that was the most trying to hurt him because I didn't expect to live. And then he shoots the side arc of his assault frigate onto my nose at black range. He rolls 3 blanks and a hit, a single hit, so I'm on 2 cards. He had LTT, but he didn't use it. I don't know. Thankful, I guess. But he forgot about it. He must have. So it lived. Now, it's not long for this world, but my Onager's alive on 1 hole. And then he shoots the left side at the Aquitaine. It's an obstructing shot. It does a little bit of damage. I don't remember the result there. But, so here's the question. Can this assault frigate clear? And sure enough, it can. It's a little tighter than I thought it was going to be. He's coming back the other way, which surprises me a little. It doesn't really matter because I'm probably going to get it at this point because the Onager lived through that shot. But he ends up here. And so it's the Onager's turn to go, and I'm thinking, cool, I've got an ignition shot. You zoom, and I don't have an ignition shot. That really sucks. So, because I missed the ignition shot by pixels again. And so I'll double arc here. So I shoot the side arc, and I shoot the front arc, and he's like, whoa, wait. And sure enough, he's right, and I hate this, and I don't understand this as a rule. But apparently, your ignition weapon has to fire if it can fire. If you put the token down and you're gonna shoot, you have to shoot the ignition, which makes no sense to me. It's my gun. I should be able to use it. I paid a lot of points for this gun. Why the heck? I mean, anyways, so the end result is that ignition token being on the table forced me to shoot at, I don't even remember who I shot at, but it's a long-range obstructed shot at something with an evade and a scatter, or a long-range obstructed shot at something with 2 evades and a redirect. So it was garbage. a waste of time. Then I shot my side, took the assault frigate down to like 2 cards or something. Uh, and I had an engineering command, so I healed a card, big whoop. Sitting on 2 cards. I'm feeling great. I'm not going to bump myself to death at least. And it's at this point that we pretty much call it. And the reasoning here is, number one, I was I couldn't believe that I have to shoot the ignition. But it didn't really make a whole lot of difference because that Nita Aquitaine would have definitely shot the backside of that assault frigate, moved forward, done exactly the same thing the next turn. So it had 2 chances, 2 different shots to produce 2 damage in total against a ship with no brace. So I could have rolled all blanks TRC for a double, rolled all blanks TRC for a double, and killed the ship with twice that many hull points. So we knew the assault frigate was going to die. But we also knew that my Onager was going to die, and I'd already lost 2 flotillas and all my squadrons, and my Aquitaine is going to be lucky to get out of there alive. You'll see this graphic of what I suspect would probably happen. You know, he has no reason to pursue with his CR-90s. His CR-90s will probably just bug out. The flotillas will push the bombers at me. If I stick around, they'll bomb me down. So I'll probably have to step on the gas and run. But at this point, there's really nothing. That's nothing beyond just getting me just standing there and getting bombed. And there's nothing more fun, like less fun than just getting bombed with no recourse. And I didn't really see a point. And it was getting late. We both were like, yeah, I think it's about over. So we called it here. And we're not really sure what the score would have been, but he definitely would have won. So after action reports are about trying to look at what you did and trying to get better. So let's look at our initial assumptions for the Onager. Our initial assumption was that we would either take this orange path or this red path. And the orange path tries to slow roll and delay such that the assault frigate and flotillas are flying away from the bombers, and they can't really, there's no opportunity for those bombers to go reach out and hit the Onager, because to do that would be to take themselves out of fighter command range. That was probably a good plan. It never materialized because of how fast the assault frigate came out. I think the big telling movement was when the assault frigate came as hard as it could inside, trying to get vertical and trying to get, you know, almost nose on with my Nita Aquitaine here. And so that being said, I think that going back to what we said at turn 2, my mistake was having my Onager squared up on the board edge. I squared up with my deployment zone. I had it all the way forward in my deployment zone in such a way that I could get a shot on that CR-90. And I'm a real big proponent of, if you pay a lot of points for a really big long-range gun that's kind of hard to use sometimes, you need to be shooting it every turn that you can. So I take Cataclysm, I take Intel Officer to try to make it a big important shot. And I was like, well, maybe I can get a good shot on this. But if I had, you know, you're not going to hurt a CR-90 at extreme range. Not with 3 red dice, 2 of which are going to get evaded unless you can somehow lock out both evades. So you're not going to do any significant damage there. So I really think that was a waste. I think I should have been farther back in my deployment zone and angled in towards the middle of the fight so that I could have gotten flatter. And so you'll see, you know, the green tail and the yellow tail kind of depicting where my Craiken Aquitaine should have been and where my Onager should have been. I think that would have been much more conducive to me hitting the assault frigate without taking as many bomber attacks as I did. Now that being said, you know, hindsight's 20/20. I didn't know for a fact that he was gonna nose up like that. And I wonder if I had been shallower, if I had put that Krennic Aquitaine farther inside, if he would have tried to beat me to the outside. I don't think he would have, because I think he realized it wouldn't have gotten him a very big victory. But that's just me speculating. Um, I do think we correctly predicted where the fight would happen, so that's always good. I like to, point out positives. I think we correctly identified where the fight was going to happen. I think we correctly identified how we needed to try to get where we needed to try to focus our guns. But I think the mistakes that we made were mostly to do with the Onager's position because of it being square to the edge. If I had been more flat, I could have easily gotten behind those Gazantes and not had to go early with them to get them out of the way of the Onager and not had to go quite so far forward, which let the enemy bombers jump on them and kill them and then win the activation war more decisively. So I think it really boiled down to me giving away activations early by trying to go early and get my Gazantes out of the way, but letting them get too far forward. I really, really wish I deployed them at like speed 1 and just slow rolled and let the rest of my fleet fly around them. But I was so concerned with trying to set up some flak. I was trying to set up a flak zone in the anticipated battleground, the zone where I thought the fight was going to happen, but I did that too early, and they just don't stand up to the amount of bombing that he can bring to bear. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the game. Hope to see you again.